So what we're going to talk about next is our public round valuation. Now you can see over here I have public round, 20% of the token supply is being sold. Now these numbers, if we look over here, are really being calculated from this area. We haven't changed this yet. This is just what the template already had. So here we said $3 million raise, and we're selling at a $15 million valuation. Well, this is no good because this valuation here is less than this one, right? So our investors, if we launched here, would actually be under. We have to give our investors an ROI. In most cases, they'll look for a minimum of a 2x. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to change this now from a $15 million valuation to a $40 million valuation. So I'm going to double it, right? So what I've actually done here is I've given my investors a 2x ROI on launch, which many of them will be happy with. Now, if I look at over here, how did we come up with this number? Well, that's something where you'll also want to do some research. So you can go on ICO drops and you'll see active, upcoming, or ended sales to figure out what are projects raising right now at what valuations. Fjord Foundry is one I personally like to use. We could see very easily here the token sales, what they've raised, how many participants, and you can also click into these by going to View Now. And you'll notice here, 765K at a $25 million valuation, 750K at a 50 mil. Here, 2 million at a 20 mil. Here, 700,000 at a 25 mil valuation. So we can see very easily what's actually going on right now in the market and actually pay attention to this as we do our research. Again, this is also something really important that you want to pay attention to. So if I wanted to go ahead and set this up and I wanted to raise, let's say, $4 million on the launch pads, now I would have to sell at a $40 million valuation for 10% of my supply. So over here, it says 20%. I'm going to change this to a 10%. All right, and we can see how it's now adjusted. Now, so if I am actually selling 10% of my supply and I'm raising $4 million, well, that's actually quite a bit of money. And so what I'll tell you is $4 million is not an easy thing to go ahead and pull off. And this is where a lot of people get overconfident. Also, if you raise too much money and you can't sell all that out, now when you're live on your decentralized exchange, you're not going to have any volume to push that price up, right? So when you're setting this up, you really want to set it up so you know confidently you can sell this out and you'll have even more demand when the token comes live, right? And that's also really important. So now, if you remembered back when I flipped through these, we saw 25 million, 20 million. This is kind of a common range, right? So if I want to put my token within that range, I can do that. And what I might want to do is say, you know what, maybe I'm raising too much money in here. I'm shoving too much value into this token, and it's causing all these numbers to inflate, so I have to adjust this back down. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to go to my private round, and let's say now I cut this down to $1 million. All right, now I'm able to take this and also cut this down to 10 million. So I'm still selling 10% of my supply. This is 10% of this. And now I'm giving public round a 4x basically for the investors, right? So that's too much. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust this back down. Let's say now I put 2 million here and I go at a $20 million valuation. Now what I've done here is now I've put the project in and token in a good position for the public round, right? I just showed you that, you know what, as I flip through these, 50 million was a high one, but I had most of these things were kind of at $20 million valuations, right? So this might make a little bit more sense to go this route. And that might be a decision you make after doing your research. So now you can see here, I am raising $2 million and I'm selling at a $20 million valuation. That's 10% of my supply. Also, this number here, 10% is a reasonable amount to public. You can also note I don't have any cliff or vesting. This is also very normal. And I'm giving public everything at TGE, also very normal. Public will not want to lock up. If you lock up tokens for public, in most cases, that will restrict your buying pressure. That will not be a very good thing. The next thing I want to cover here is this private sale allocation. So here, you'll notice we have our cliff at 6 months and 18 months, and it says linear vesting with nothing unlocked at TGE. So here what we're saying is after 6 months, investors will start to get 1/18 of their tokens until 18 months have passed, at which point all their tokens will have been distributed. So this is something you also want to pay close attention to, and I'll show you how to look at the value of these later on, but we don't want to make this too aggressive, right? So for example, if the investors pushed us, they have some kind of vesting schedule like this, where they had, you know, essentially right away they're starting to get tokens when we first launched, they could dump those. That could be a problem. Or they say, you know what, we want 25% at launch. Again, they could get these, they could start selling these, they're in profit mode. So you want to really protect yourself and pay close attention to how you're distributing these. And we'll cover that in more detail when we go into the cliffs and the vesting schedules videos, but I wanted to show you because it is an important thing to keep in mind.